Hey guys, welcome back to the GTM Playroom. Today I'm joined with Duane Bumgartner, the CEO and founder of City Rank Media. Duane has spent over 2 decades at the intersection of technical SEO and local lead generation, building a performance-driven agency that doesn't just rank websites, they capture market share and drive bottom-line value for brands like leading regional law firms, national franchise networks, and high-growth home service providers. Duane, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I guess a good place to start would just be to understand the kind of origin story. Like how did you start City Rank Media and what was the original kind of go-to market motion, especially over 2 decades ago, that made you your first million?
Okay. Oh, that's quite a story right there. I started back in 2011. Before that, I worked for one of the largest yellow page providers here in the United States, Verizon at the time, and very much involved in their digital products and worked on a specialized team that did that. 2011 came. I had a 5-year-old daughter and another one on the way, and I wanted to spend more time at home because I traveled quite frequently at my prior position. So I started the company with the sole intention of just replacing my income and working from home so I could spend more time with my daughters, walking to school, stuff like that. But the phone just didn't stop ringing. So, I think it was pretty easy for me to grow in the beginning because I had a lot of customers that referred me around. And that was really our strategy probably for the first 7, 8, 9 years. First million probably happened about 2.5 years in when I hit an annualized million, and but obviously by that point in time,
So you were saying the original kind of ways you acquired clients or had your first few clients was more from like referral networks or people from your previous company.
I had a couple clients that started with me. I still have my first client, today, 23 years later. That
Wow.
was the very first client that ever bought a Yellow Page ad from me. They picked up their business and moved to Southern Florida. Called me up, and I still do their stuff today. The results that we provide as an agency made it very easy for us to grow in the referral space, which really is also a very hard way to grow.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's definitely a great place to start because referrals typically have the highest conversions, highest kind of warm signals, and then obviously over time, once you've maximized that, because there's always a ceiling, then you kind of move on to the next step. What would you say your unfair advantages are that kind of shaped how you sell today, how you acquire clients today?
I've had this philosophy since we started, and since one of our very first innovations, which was a program that we developed called GPS SEO, was an idea that I had back in 2011, and we started building on it, and it's still probably one of our primary flagship products today. Um, it's a product that helps our business, our customers rank in hyperlocal spots in their geographic area, and it's worked exceptionally well over the years. And so, I think one of the things that makes us different is our ability to adapt, our ability to see kind of what is on the horizon, and then put together either good use cases on how we as an agency are going to position our clients for those changes or create something that is going to give them an advantage. As a matter of fact, we probably released about 9 of those over the years, and we're about ready to release our 10th.
Mm, it sounds like your offers evolved quite a lot in the last, let's say, 2 plus decades. What does that look like, and what does that transition look like?
Uh, we built these programs over the years that have worked really well to help our customers rank organically. I think this latest transition now is more focused on opening additional channels for our customers to get what in the home services industry is termed as a marketing qualified lead, and make sure that we are able to directly insert it into the customer CRM, leaving no doubt between the relationship of the agency, their sales department, and the capture of revenue. So we can see that entire process now all the way through towards the back end when we pull that information out of a client CRM automatically through our new platform that we're releasing.
That's very cool. So it sounds like a visibility thing that you can start to see like very clearly the attribution at different kind of channels, different ways you're going to market. I'd love to just kind of double click on that. Like what you mentioned it before this call, you were kind of building an AI product. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, how it's kind of integrating your services and where that's going.
I've been in advertising almost 25 years now, and one of the biggest problems I saw and I've seen in this industry for the last few decades is the significant disconnect between marketing teams and sales teams. And especially that disconnect gets even bigger when your marketing team is an outsourced vendor or partner like my agency. Often what happens is I could go in and talk to whoever's in charge or whoever's, like the business owner or the chief marketing officer or whatever, and be like, hey, you know what, we as an agency drove X amount of leads. And it was almost always a point of contention or an issue because they'd say, well, our sales team says, or our sales manager said you only drove this amount of leads. And what inevitably happened was once we started digging into the reasons behind the discrepancies and stuff like that. It was always left up to, kind of the human nature of, well, am I going to enter that as a lead? I don't think that was really qualified as a lead. And so we've taken that out and are using AI technologies to be able to extrapolate information through AI intelligence on voice, also through being able to extrapolate that through other communication means that are coming across to customers these days, whether that's a form fill, an instant message to their business, a web chat, or phone call. We're able to pull the critical key pieces of information, put it into a contact card, and once it reaches that threshold that the client would consider a marketing qualified lead, it automatically plugs it right into their CRM for them to work. And so there's always visibility into what is producing, what is not. On top of that, we're able to take that through the entire revenue cycle on the back end, pull that out at the end, match that up with different markers like a Google Click ID or whatever, feed that back into Google's system for a very solid return on ad spend type of scenario where we're able to really dial down to the customer what it is that they're searching for or looking for when it comes to new customers coming into their business.
Sounds like the way you qualified the leads, again, there was kind of mismatch between how they did it in past, internally and externally.
Mhm.
When you say marketing qualified lead and you qualify it now, you said with forms as well as public information. Is it a combination of information you can scrape on the internet or whatever, and then also type forms that you send out? Or how do you actually define this marketing qualified lead?
We've developed an IVR that every call goes into, and first we take kind of some data points from that person that's coming in, some interactions to understand whether they're a current customer, new customer, they're looking for something else. And then there's also an AI voice intelligence layer on top of that, where we have AI listen to the phone call between that web prospect and perhaps the customer service agent or the sales rep at the customer's property to be able to extract very key information. And it's always going to be the same kind of key information: the prospect's name, their phone number, the email address, their service address, what kind of service they're looking for. And these are all fields that we agree with the customer up front that they would consider that, hey, if I had these pieces of information and they matched these criteria, then I would consider that a good, viable lead for my sales team. And then obviously we have different levels of qualification after that and follow that all the way to the realization of revenue for that customer, how that first click was achieved, and ultimately how we as an agency can optimize to get more of the types of jobs our customers want as opposed to just a volume play.
Okay, so it's the visibility and the attribution and allow you to filter that through some attribution, some more, let's call it uh, some kind of data layer, which then allows you to essentially see more clearly who's coming in, who's the best client, and you can actually feed that back into your marketing to dial in even more precisely. That's very, very
Yeah.
cool. That's actually something we're doing as well. So it's cool to see how other agencies are kind of working through these and how they're leveraging AI. Like for example, we have this kind of company intelligence layer where it's actually an internal thing we're building out for our own agency now that allows us to take, similar to how you're doing it for your clients, take all the connect APIs to all the tools that we use across the entire business and any kind of touch point that we can get, whether it's a call, whether it's an email, whether it's a Slack message or anything like that. Then we connect all of that together to kind of retrieve that information, store it internally, and then build skills and kind of workflows on top of that.
We're very excited as an agency with
Yeah.
agentic AI,
How,
and
yeah,
that's been game
I'm curious,
changer.
outside of your work you're doing with clients, for your own agency, what are you currently doing? Again, don't have to go too deep, and just at high level now, on the sales and marketing side, and how you're growing it, to leverage kind of AI to kind of scale way beyond what you could do in the past. Because a lot of the challenge with agencies is that it's very difficult to scale in a way that is like a software type model, right? And so, but I think now it's a very interesting time to be alive where you can actually start to move that way.
I think pretty typically follow the normal agency where we try to scale our web development times, our monthly meetings, SEO, and how we could use machine learning and kind of the dynamic properties. WordPress is the platform that we work in for most of our clients, and using the dynamic properties of WordPress to be able to get work done quicker. Fast forward to today, where now as you start going through AI, I think a lot of agencies are trying to make the decision of whether they're going to build their own tech stack or they're going to use something existing. And you start getting into a very different mindset there of a SaaS mentality, which, this product that we're launching, we did 3 rounds of beta testing on before we got the right product fit for our customer base. And that was really important because until we had the right product fit, the customer, it was really tough for us as an agency to get the customer and the employees to actually use and engage with the software, which is it's extremely robust software. So that being said, we kind of took that away and just said, I understand you're running a business. You have an entire thing that you need to do there. And me as your partner, my job should be to work with your sales teams on driving the leads that they're looking for that are going to result in the revenue that you're looking for. So we try to do as low touch as possible on the customer side, and automate as much of the prospect experience all the way through to sale as much as possible.
So then the sales team just take the call and you can automate everything around that.
Basically now it's just like, hey, I have somebody on the line. They've already said they want to do business with you. Who wants this lead? And it's a way different dynamic now.
What about for City Ranked? What does it look like for you now? Like, what is that kind of mix, and what is like working really well for you?
The traditional ways that a lot of agencies are advertising these days didn't seem to work so well with us because our ideal client profile is very, very, very specific. And so instead, we've opted to join some industry associations. Obviously, we have a very good reputation in the industry, the verticals that we work in, and a lot of people know us in those verticals. But there's also other very good agencies in those verticals, and so we try to distinguish ourselves by our innovation, by our proven track record of success, our length in business, and our ability to make connections to industry specific CRMs to affect the revenue outcomes of these businesses. And that's been wildly successful for us. We've run, obviously, I think every agency in the last year and a half has ran into challenges with the changing, the economy and this acceleration of AI. But that has seemed to work the best for us so far.
And what have been kind of the biggest challenges? You mentioned a few there, like that you've kind of navigated over the last, let's call it the 3-year period where AI has just been going pretty crazy.
Yes, there's some new challenges that
Mm.
me as an agency owner has never seen here until the last few recent years. And challenge number one is I think with AI, there's a lot of question around how a lot of businesses should be using this. There's a lot of noise in this space as well on what is going to help your business and what is not. And I think one of the things that was kind of pivotal for us is I started working with our clients, and our team has started working with clients to map out their MarTech stack and show exactly how the data is going to flow through their organization. And then I asked the C-level to take say, this is just your guys' marketing and sales MarTech stack. What are you guys doing outside and your other, the other departments? Because all these systems are going to have to tie together at some level at some point. Also talking to them about the cost of connections through third-party APIs and middleware, stuff like that. It can start making a lot of sense on what type of platforms they should be looking at. And ultimately, well, obviously the goal would be for us to manage that stack and help the customer through that decision-making process. But yeah, there's a lot of noise when it comes to AI. I think the other thing that's happened too inadvertently following the pandemic is a lot of businesses realized the importance of having a good digital presence. That was really magnified during the pandemic. And as such, a lot of businesses have decided that, hey, I'm going to hire my own internal marketing manager or something of that make the nature to manage these relationships with these vendors. And that has been a challenge too, because the vision that the owner has when we first engage with them is not always the same vision that this marketing manager has. And of course, our job as an agency is to make the marketing manager look good, make their business money. And so we had to kind of adjust the way that we would set our key performance indicators at the beginning of our relationship so that our team was not constantly changing the direction or the goal based upon who was now in charge at that particular company. And that's made a pretty big difference.
Mm, uh, Given how fast everything's changing, it does feel, and we're seeing this in real time as well, it does feel like both the divisions are merging into one in a sense of that there is no kind of, oh, marketing deems this as a marketing qualified lead, but sales qualified leads are this and this. It just feels like, hey, this is a lead. It should be both qualified and it should move into the kind of sales cycle. So is that something you're seeing with your clients?
There are different levels of qualification. So one that we've recently introduced in the last few years as a new qualification, well known in the agency space of automation qualified lead. And we got the marketing qualified lead, the sales qualified lead. And each one of those is obviously a different level of qualification all the way through to sold. So, yeah. We treat each one of those leads differently in our systems, but ultimately the whole goal is to get them sold and revenue on the books.
You mentioned one of the challenges was that there's too much noise in the market around what is useful, what is not. If you had to advise any kind of small business owner or any kind of, let's say, less tech mature business on what they need to focus on and what they kind of need to just disregard, how would you explain how to think about it?
I'm trying to use, the 10-80-10 rule where the first 10% of work is done by humans and experts in our business. The next 80% is managed by our humans and experts at our agency, but executed by AI. And the last 10%, the delivery, the creatives, all that kind of stuff is managed by humans. And so I think if you can take a lot of the repetitive work, a lot of busy work, the stuff that is very timely that a machine can handle and hand that off to AI to make your people more effective at what they're doing, that is the best use case of AI that there can be in any organization. So I'll give you one a good example. One of our customers that has been beta testing our platform for 2 years, a significantly large pest control company here in the United States. They went from their sales reps just sitting, waiting for the phone to ring and looking at their email, waiting for leads to come in, to now they're actively working leads all the time, because instead of just waiting for the leads to come in, our system and their systems now assign leads to these representatives and they work them till exhaustion. And if they can't work them, if they for some reason can't sell them, then they come back into our platform where we try to re-automate that experience with that prospect to try to get them re-engaged. So instead of spending time chasing down leads, now these folks, these salespeople are working on closing relationships with leads that have already been assigned for them to work.
Okay. Okay. So you're automating. I think this is a key theme, is like automating everything around uh,
Yep.
the things that can be automated, and everything that can't be automated, that stays the same. This is actually something we're seeing. This is similar to an article that I believe one of the Sequoia Capital partners, Julian Beck, wrote about, which was the difference between intelligence heavy work and judgment heavy work, which is essentially anything that is a kind of repeatable, automatable, that is something that should be leveraged with AI. And then what's left is that judgment heavy work, which is like which markets to go after, how do I manage this relationship, how do I have a conversation around XYZ, or the kind of human side, I feel, or just a more strategic side, which is like where to go, what to do. one decision could really make or break the entire business and the trajectory of that business. So it's very, very cool to see how you're doing that as well. In terms of your own goals then for City Ranked Media, what does that look like over the next 1 to 3 years? Like, what are you hoping to achieve?
During the pandemic, and actually even immediately following the pandemic, CityRanked was growing at an incredible rate. We were growing organically at 30% every year, and I think what happened after that pandemic, and everything coming back out, agency growth slowed, especially with the release of AI being more public facing, and so trying to get CityRanked back to that, but I'm trying to position CityRanked as a technology leader and a solutions provider as opposed to just kind of a digital marketing agency is the end goal. We work with a lot of private equity firms on building platform and regional brands through M&A and folding those companies into kind of a platform brand. So continuing that, but also taking on the MarTech aspect and helping these businesses understand where and how to apply AI into their marketing and sales is likely the direction that we'll end up here.
Okay, and what do you foresee as the biggest challenge to get you there?
The biggest challenge is always going to be adoption in software. I think we have at least the beginning foundations of that solved as an agency. When you start talking about home services, they're typically lower tech type of environments in their offices. And so trying to gain adoption on some of these tools, especially with employees, can feel a little bit big brotherish at times, and so we try to present it and doing in such a way that this is something that is to help augment your sales, help augment your credibility with these prospects coming in to help you close more of these deals, and that's what we're seeing, and it's actually working out exceptionally well.
Cool. And if AI could fix one thing in your company right now, what would unlock that kind of next revenue level?
I think more clarity into granular data is always a good thing. That is the direction that agencies are going to be going, is how can they help customers answer faster, and what do you do as an organization with the data that you've gathered? We do a lot of business with a lot of really large companies, and my first question when a customer wants to measure a specific data point is, what is your plan and what do you want to do with this data point in the future? And I think those types of conversations can really uncover what it is that maybe we can help use AI to leverage to help that customer's end goal.
And then just some quick fire questions.
Sure.
One tool currently changing your GTM motion.
Um, I'm a big fan of Claude right now.
What is the most impactful use case?
I think right now, I've been working the last, 3 or 4 weeks on kind of a launching of our new AI and marketing automation product that we've been an agency I've been working on over the last 3 years, and I have a lot of material to put together to not only present it to our customers and what we found and kind of the different things that we as an agency found through these 3 rounds of beta testing, but I also need to communicate to my employees how we're going to position this, because now we're opening up several different other channels for marketing, and so we need to understand how we're going to position that, how our team is going to be able to help execute that, what parts AI is going to help with the execution, and ultimately what the end goal is for the customer. And the end goal is always going to be to drive more qualified leads and prospects, because after that, it's just a mathematical equation to getting revenue.
Love that. Love that. And final question, best piece of advice you've ever received around scaling and growing a business?
So, the best piece of advice I got from a personal injury attorney that had been my client for 20, 25 years. And he said when I first started, he goes, don't worry about making money. He goes, just worry about doing the right thing. If you do the right thing, the money will come. And I still tell him to this day that he's correct in that.
I want to quickly double click on that because that's quite interesting. What does it mean to you to do the right thing? Like what are concrete examples?
Yeah, I think in advertising, and it's not everybody doesn't always want to do the right thing for the customer. And I think back to even the days of my print advertising when the company I used to work for used to have us insert tracking lines into things like their white pages listing and stuff like that. And I really felt like that was really trying to trick the customer into overinflating their call volumes to show that, hey, you should advertise more with us. And I've never been a proponent of that. So me at the very beginning doing the right thing meant that everything that we do is transferable work to the customer. So because of that, I chose WordPress as the platform our agency typically uses. Because I really believe that as a web developer, if you're going to go out and hire somebody, they should be able to work on WordPress pretty easily. Everything the customer owns. The only thing that we ever keep as an agency is anything that is our own IP.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. It's very insightful, Dwayne. Even as a 2+ decade old company, you're still very much resilient, adaptable, and really pushing the boundaries. So it's really cool to see how you're doing it as well. Just a final thing here, like where can people find you? How can people learn more?
Our website, cityranked.com.
What about yourself?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Duane Baumgartner, CEO and founder
Awesome.
of City Ranked Media.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dwayne, for being on the show, and catch you guys next time.
All
Thanks.
right, thanks, Amanda.